And today's session, we are really fortunate to have you, ma'am. And we are also fortunate to have Dr. JNM, who is our director. He has joined this institute on 9th of September this year only. And he's with his inspiration, under his guidance, we are organizing this kind of webinar series for our students, for our faculty members. Dr. JNM, just for the formal introduction, Dr. JNM is an alumni of IIT BHU, IIM Calcutta and Jadavpur University. He has more than 3 decades of experience comprising of industry as well as academics. He happened to be the national head of Srei Capital Markets, and he also was the founding faculty member of Globsin Business School and director of JD Birla Institute. And now he is our director. We are really lucky and fortunate to have him as our director. And now my turn is to introduce Madam Dr. Mamta Binani. It's my privilege to introduce her. Dr. Mamta Binani was the national past president of Institute of Company Secretaries India for the year 2016, and she is the second lady president of ICSI in the illustrious history of the institute for the 52 years. Dr. Mamta Binani is a commerce graduate, fellow member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and she has done LLB. She has been always a meritorious student throughout her academic career. She happened the All India topper in the intermediate examination among all the lady candidates in India and had ranked 14th on All India basis. She has received during her illustrious journey, she has received many accolades, many medals, certificates, right from the school level to this level. And she All India basis, she received the highest marks on the All India basis in company law paper in the final examination of ICSI. She is a practicing lawyer and having rich experience in corporate laws, restructuring laws, and also a consultant on restructuring corporate and legal matter. Prior to this, she was the practicing company secretary. She is registered as an insolvency professional. She is the first insolvency professional in our country to be registered with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. She is the first insolvency person to have got a resolution under IBC in the country. She has also served as an independent director of many reputed organizations across the country and outside the country. She has served as a promoter director of ICSI Insolvency Professionals Agency, now known as ICSI Institute of Insolvency Professionals. She has been conferred with many awards, as I mentioned earlier. She has been conferred with Bharat Nirman Awards in 2010.
Sir, I think, please don't embarrass me any further. It's fine. The most important fact is that I am known to Dr. JNN, and that I still remain in his good books, and he always is so magnanimous that he invites me to lecture, to give whatever wisdom that I've been able to gather through these years. So that's the only, I think, accolade that I possess as of now. And I'm really elated to possess that in my dictionary, in my heart and mind. So thank you so much, Dr. JNM, to again have me in this very prestigious forum. And thank you, Biswas sir, for being so, graciously explaining about my profile. So many facts even I have forgotten, but you have not missed of any. So thanks a ton.
I will just have before I think you formally start off, I would like to extend on my personal behalf, on behalf of the Institute of Company Secretary, on behalf of the Calcutta Business School, the students of Calcutta Business School, the faculty of Business School, a very warm welcome. Today is actually a holiday, right? And still, you have kindly agreed to come. That's very nice of you. I also want to thank our students. We are at 94 not outs. That's not good. I think by the time, sometimes students are students, so they log in a bit late. So I think, inshallah, it will become 100 not out. Students, I want to tell you that, it is not easy. Just because you are seeing Dr. CS Mamta Binani, doesn't mean she's a very, very, difficult, she's a very busy lady. She is a lawyer plus company secretary plus insolvency professional. So she's most of the time traveling, but she's always kind enough to accede to my request and come. That's always very nice of her. And I know her professionally now for about, I don't know, maybe 10 years plus. And wherever I have gone, whichever institute, I thought, she'll add so much wisdom to the students. I must tell you, as MBA students, one of the weak areas that you have, your company law area is a bit weak. But that is a framework. Right from 1956, the Companies Act is there. Amendments have happened. So this is one area I want the students to be very strong at. Because if you're not strong at, and also one more thing, I had requested Ms. Mamta to do that, there is something like your father's generation was a sole proprietorship. Now things have come like a one-man company, right? New things have come like limited liability partnerships. So you should be able to take full advantage of this. I always tell you that, one thing you always look at is chakri korbo, So chakri korbo na kore, you should think of at some stage of point in your life to start your own company. Because every year, roughly 1 crore people are joining the workforce, and no government can create 1 crore jobs. So it'd be nice that if educated people like you actually become job creators and not job seekers. So these are the things, but like when you become a director, there are various kind of directors, which Ms. Mamta she's so hardworking that she still created a presentation, She would have just come and spoken extempore, but she has put so much hard work. She's made a presentation for us. So, like this directors is very important, and you must always, we talk about company law and ethics. One thing you must always do is not break any rules of the law of the land. So ignorance is not bliss. If you don't know a company law and you break it, so that is not bliss. You'll be punishable. So, there are many aspects of the company law. It's a framework you must go by. And the corporate governance is very important. If you don't follow the right corporate governance, you'll get into problems sooner or later. So as you go up the marketing, as you go up your organization career journey, you must be extremely aware of the thing. And I'm sure you will keep continuing to attend sessions after this at CIA and various Chamber of Commerce, where is Ms. Mamta Binani will be lecturing. And those will all be paid webinars. This is the last free webinar you'll be having from Ms. Mamta Banerjee, because she's come to the institute. But otherwise, she'll be paying, either institute will be paying, your organization will be paying, or you'll have to pay to get 1 hour of her time. So, now I will, this very important aspect that we have discussed the topic, key aspects of company law for business managers. So whether you are doing marketing, finance, operation management, supply chain management, whatever you're doing, HR, you need to understand the company law basically. So Mamta, we are at 100 not out participants at Eden Gardens. So,
That's nice.
Yeah. So we are at 100 not out, as I told you that, warming up. There be some 5-6 students warming up. So now they're all there. And I can think of, I've just joined, but there are 2 very good students we have. One is Kanchan Sharma. She is a BA LLB. And we got Sumita. I will also, Sudeshna, is Sumita there today? She is a company secretary herself.
Acha.
Yes, sir, I'm there. Yes, sir.
Okay. So Sumita, you will give the vote of thanks today, because, Sumita is just, I think, 1 step away from being a company secretary. So she's a student, and, like she told me that she idolizes, she wants to be after 15 years, 20 years like you, Mamta. So
Better than
it will be a good aspect for her to be there today. She's the happiest person I can see from a smile. So over to you, Ms. Mamta Binani.
Thank you. Thank you, dear friend. Thank you. You're also a mentor to me. You know that very well. I've always been looking upon you so much that sometimes I end up really emulating you also, if not really imitating you. So it's an honor to be in this platform and to be invited by you, Dr. JNM. I must say that anything that comes from you, it becomes kind of a law for me. I just wish to abide by whatever you have in your wish list, that I should be in some gathering, I should be in some seminar, in some workshop. So thank you for really choosing me for this elated platform. I'm deeply humbled and obliged both. So my warm greetings goes to all the dear students. Of course, we are all students for our entire life, but at this point in time, you are privileged to be really called as a student within inverted commas, because this life, you'll never get it back. How much we wish, you will not get the shoes of a real student after a few years, and you'll really miss this life so much. This will always be etched in your memory deep down when you reach our age or even beyond. This life you will never forget. So before I really get into the real issues of Companies Act, or maybe doing business in a formalized manner, I wish to say to you, dear students, that this is the time that you really get for yourself. What you should only concentrate in is honing your skills. And gone are the days when people used to say that you should be not jack of all but master of one. Now, the era that we have entered into is you have to be jack of all and yet be a master of one. So, in my times, my father always used to scold me that my pet name was Rinku, and he always used to tell me that the whole day you sit with books. I don't know what you do, but I don't see any mastery that you're achieving in any one particular subject. So I always used to, that nagging feeling always used to be there in my mind. I have to really show my dad that, okay, I have created a mastery in one subject. And that's how I got into company law. I used to really love the subject, and I think it is the love for the subject that led me to become an all India topper in company law, not only in my finals, but also in my intermediate. So, then I realized that yes, it's important to be a master of one, because then you get an identity from that subject, because you then called as a specialist, and really people come to you because they know that you are in and out drinking and eating company law, sleeping over company law. So it's not important for you to choose company law. Of course, I'm sure you are getting the point that I'm trying to drive home, that you should be having a love for at least one or two subjects that really gives you, that passion, and that gives you goosebumps. When you read something, you should be so excited about it. Apart from that, why did I say that you need to be a jack of all, is because when you really start interacting with the management, and when you start interacting in the industry, you cannot sit in a corner and say, hello, hi, I just know Companies Act and I don't know what's happening in the manufacturing sector. I don't know how GDP is measured, for that matter. I don't understand what consumer index is, and neither am I interested to know. Can you say that? And if you say that, then you will not be treated with a lot of dignity, because people will think that you belong to that kind of a well, where you are just getting limited to your arena or your circle, which is very limited. Then people will not reach out to you for important positions like board, or maybe managerial positions like KMPs. I'm sure in Companies Act you understand that the Companies Act for the first time has endowed professionals like anything. They have reposed so much of faith and confidence in the not only the passion and the energy levels of a professional, but to the degree that the professional carries. That a KMP has to be a company secretary, CFO, has to be a chartered accountant, so on and so forth. So, which only means that the lawmakers of the country has realized that the kind of degree courses that you all, and as management students, you all are going through, even management students are taken as KMPs. I'm sure you're aware of it by now. And I'll tell you in greater details when I go through my presentation. So it only shows that you have to be really aware of not only your surroundings, but also what's happening across the world. So you should be aware of what is the kind of repercussions that will happen once America goes to elections. What will happen in Bihar? What is the kind of permutation combination going on in Bengal? What's happening everywhere? And it's not so tough. Everything is in the mind, because unless you keep your mind aware, you will not get that strength in your credibility, in your biodata, which can really display to the world that here is a person who holistically understands everything. Because believe you me, today, one decision that you take as a board member, it's not only going to impact the immediate discussion or decision, but it's going to have a far reaching impact. I hope you understand. Just for an example, let me give you an example to make you understand. For hypothetically, if you have a manufacturing plant, say for example, just on the bank of the river, be it any river, and if you are not putting up a plant which actually makes sure that the water is treated, the sewerage is treated, and then only it's getting merged into the water or the lake that you are on the bank of it. And even if you're not on the bank of a river, but you know that the drainage system is going to that river, and if you're not having that foresightedness, that tomorrow a National Green Tribunal should be knocking at your doors and saying that, listen, you have not been able to sustainable in manner. You're not looking into the environmental issues. And here is a lockdown order that I'm pasting on your wall, that from tomorrow you need to just shut down unless you make sure that the sewerage plant is really treated well before it goes into the water. So are we, as a professional, should we wait for those letters and notices to be stuck on the wall, or should we be so aware of the environmental laws? Because sooner or later, these visionary things only comes to your mind once you're aware. Unless you're aware as to what is happening, because gone are the days when we used to think that something which is happening in the West will come to the East after 10 years, after 5 years. You remember in the yesteryears, we used to say, okay, America is thinking today. India will think about maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line. Today, what we think, we say, okay, America is thinking today. We'll think it today itself. We'll not even think it tomorrow. Or maybe we'll think it yesterday. So that is how this global village has now turned out to be, that each and every fact travels more faster than a light. So once you are all management students and you belong to such an important cadre, and you've got behind you a very important hallmark of this prestigious business school, the weight behind you is quite a lot, because any organization that has a very good name really throws a lot of weight behind you, apart from whatever you as an individual are. So it's said that the name in the front of the t-shirt is more important than what you wear at the back. So you belong to the team India is more important than you being Mr. X, Y, and Z. So if tomorrow you are representing yourself, but always remember that first and foremost you're representing your own business school, because you are the people who will become the alumni and then going to take forward the name of the business school. So you are not only having your own future on your shoulders, and of course your immediate family, but more than that, you must realize that you have the very important task on your shoulders is to keep the flag of your institution, of your business school, very, very high. So, with these words, let me begin the presentation, but only with the caveat that nobody is going to look at their phones, okay? No WhatsApp, and just give me about half an hour, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Because in half an hour, I'll try to give you a capsule of this Companies Act, and I'll also try to take you behind the eyeballs of the lawmaker as to what could have been the vision and the mission of the corporate lawmakers to have this kind of a very important law. You have to understand that Companies Act is an enactment which is actually dealing with real corporates, right? It is dealing with money. It's really dealing with top-notch people, and also the MSME sector, and also people like you and me who would be making probably one-man company. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there's one single law which is actually handling each strata of the society. Reliance strata, people like Reliance, people like MSMEs, and people like you and me who are individuals. Okay, so therefore, can you understand the magnanimity of the law? So when a lawmaker is making a law, so many things it keeps in mind. And let me tell you that Companies Act is one of the most oldest acts. If you see the history of the act, 1913 also we had a Companies Act, right? And 1897 we had it. So just after independence, of course, 1956 we had it. But even before that, the British Raj had a Companies Act. Obviously, this Companies Act is also hugely borrowed from the UK Companies Act, which is extremely governance driven. But nonetheless, this 1913, then 1956, and then we had this 2013 Act. So after 1956, we saw a number of amendments. But of course, as you understand, that those amendments were in bits and bits, and were trying to put the puzzle together wherever they felt that. I'm Hey guys, you're with me, right? Right?
Yes.
So what happens is, why does a law change over a period of time? Because no economy and not a single individual can be static. And what is a law? Law is nothing but extended logic. So whatever the economy goes through, whatever the citizenry goes through, be it the economic citizenry or the citizenry who has flesh and blood, so whatever they go through, and wherever the government finds loopholes that somebody is trying to take cognizance of or taking misuse of, they try and plug those, okay, or they try to bring in new set of laws, sections by way of amendments. So we had a number of amendment acts, but then the government realized that no, now we are dealing with new age people. Okay, now we are dealing with new age white collar crimes. We are dealing with blue collar crimes. So it's important that there is a complete overhaul of the Companies Act. And that is how we actually saw the birth of Companies Act 2013, which actually overhauled the entire Companies Act 1956. So for the first time in the country, we saw that a law was becoming effective in parts. It's only with the Companies Act that we saw that some sections got notified, some sections did not get notified. So this was the first time that in our country witnessed that there were two acts which was simultaneously in place. That was 1956 Act also and 2013 Act also. So 2013, some of the portions, some of the sections which got notified was applicable to the sector, corporate sector, and those were not. For them, 1956 Act were applicable. So gradually now we have seen that all these sections, 1956 Act has kind of, now it's no more applicable. It's the 2013 Act which is applicable. So that is also one fact I wanted to bring to your forefront, that it may so happen also. Like for us, it was a new thing, but of course, that was a pleasant thing also. That government was not in a hurry to impose everything at one go. The ecosystem also needs to be ready before you actually put the law into implementation. Another thing in this Companies Act, and then I'll begin, that it was very interesting that the government took a cognizance of the fact that it's very difficult to change an act, because that process of changing an act is, you go from the first you put it to the committee, then you go to the lower house, then to the upper house. It has to travel a lot of hindrances before it actually becomes a law. So they realized that now we live in an era where today doesn't recognize as yesterday, and tomorrow will not recognize today. Things are changing in such a rapid speed that government feels that we have to be ultra ready for whatever changes that will come by. So therefore, in this Companies Act, and let me share this important issue with you, and you may hold your chairs also to listen to this. It's very, very interesting. So what did the government do? Government said that, okay, if this is the way we are progressing, then let me have the principal issues of the law in the act and the procedural issues in the rules and the regulations. So what did they do? The way they planned this act was that in the companies, so before in 1956 Act, we saw the principle, we saw we also saw how it will be done. So which means the process, the procedures, all packed in 1956 Act as an enactment, as a one book, 1956 Act, which contained everything. So everything was there in the section. Okay? But here we saw the 2013 Act, and that is how now all the other acts are also coming by, that a lot of these procedures have now shifted to rules and regulations, so that if tomorrow we feel that, okay, this has become redundant and that needs to go for a change, then there's a shorter procedure. And shorter procedure here doesn't mean that the government has any issue of actually going through a rigmarole of process. They're not trying to look for a shortcut. Only thing that they feel is important, according to me, is that justice not delivered in time is actually justice lost.
Denied.
In concept, they probably thought that if the hunger is there today, it's important to satiate the hunger now. It's no point taking it to 10 months or 9 months post that period when you see the ailment. And that's how this Companies Act saw that the act has become thinner. If you see the 1956 Bear Act, and if you see the 2013 Bear Act, not along with the rules and regulations, the Bear Act is just half of what you saw in 1956 Act. But if you put the rules and regulations, it's thicker. So, the Bear Act has really gone trim and thin. But of course, a lot of it has gone into the rules and regulations. And I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate as to why the government did it. So today's session and discussion would also revolve around the fact that what is actually a company? Why is it that we really need to look at the concept of a company? Why at all we should subject to so much of compliances that you need to do in a company? Because having a partnership firm or a sole proprietorship firm is much easier, much less compliances are involved. So more compliances, more fees to professionals. So why should we subject ourselves to so much of pain and rigor when we have other sorts of, addresses available to do business? That could be one of partnership firm, could be sole proprietorship, could be LLPs also. So why do we subject ourselves voluntarily to a company? So let's see all of it, and especially in a, if we a lot of you must be, also contemplating of having your own small businesses in the form of startups, or maybe in the form of a joint venture. So let me kind of plant few thoughts in your mind, and you may just carry them with you. It's not necessary that you need to understand everything at one go, but just try to get the flavor. I want you to just get the flavor and don't remember things. I'll request Mr. Biswas that with the permission of Mr. Dr. JNM, you may also circulate my presentation,
Okay.
because knowledge shared is always knowledge
Thank you.
multiplied. You can do that. So don't bother about remembering things. Just try to understand the gamut of it. Try to understand the ecosystem that the Companies Act is trying to create, and try to understand that why is it that it is important for you even to suggest people or maybe have it for yourself. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'll just share my presentation which I have made. And Dr. JNM was magnanimous enough to recognize that, I nothing of the sort. So
As
one.
is getting ready to do the presentation, just want to remind you students that when we studied at IIM Calcutta, and after 20 years, when we meet up, we sometimes not only remember the lectures and the lecturers and the professors, we suddenly remember one Rusi Modu who had come, someone who had come from the ministry. So, these seminars are very, very important.
Yeah.
What is the beauty of the seminars? I'm telling you, like Miss Mamta Binani is so much knowledgeable, but the entire knowledge,
JNM, I'm not Banerjee, please.
No, Miss Mamta Binani, I'm saying the entire knowledge she's trying to give you in just about such a small amount of time. So please pay a lot of attention to that, because after 20 years also you might remember this, right?
Thank you. Okay, I'm just not, okay, 1 minute. I'm not able to get the file here. Give me a moment. I don't know why it's not showing here.
I think you have to do one more share. I think there is one share and there's another second share, I think.
Okay.
You have to share it once again, I think. Twice, I think. That's how it comes.
Yeah. Sudeshna ma'am, you have my presentation?
Yeah, we have, but maybe we'll be able to not be able to control it well, but no, it has started screen sharing the showing.
Yeah, okay. It has?
I think,
okay.
I think it should come. It's coming now.
Yeah, perfect.
It's coming.
Thank you.
Yes, come. It's come.
Thanks. Okay, I'm sure this technology has really made our lives easier. I must say that this pandemic has taught us a lot of things, and one of the most important thing is that we've started getting connected through technology. And Dr. JNM has, showered his blessings through technology on me. So I am really blessed. I've been able to meet him so often through the technology mode. Otherwise, meeting physically is like.
Yeah. But once the institute opens, you must come.
I will. I'm sure I will. In fact, we would like to do some collaboration with you with the Institute of Company Secretaries. I'll put in a word. Once you give me a go ahead, we can talk about it. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Now, let's get into the presentation where I'll be able to pinpoint a few of the things that I told you. And okay. So you all are entrepreneurs in making, and not only for yourself, but you will be kind of advising a lot of people who will be entrepreneurs in making. So as an entrepreneur, what do you really think of when you think of your business? Of course, you would like to start from scratch. That is one. And sometimes you may also think that why don't we go for an inorganic growth? So when you think of an inorganic growth, what do you think of? The first thing that you think of is mergers and acquisitions, right? You think that, okay, somebody's doing well. Why can't I buy that business so that the order book comes as it is? Of course, it comes with assets and liabilities. Not only assets, it comes with its own share of liabilities. So, that is when inorganic growth. I think my sound is echoing. Is it okay? Okay. And a lot of us have family.
One second, ma'am. Sudeshna ma'am, can you please unmute? Mute, please.
Okay.
Ma'am, please continue.
Yes, now it's better. So a lot of times we have our own family business, and we see a lot of value in it. But we come with our own set of thoughts. We come with our own set of skill sets, and the like. My sister, who's just about 4 years younger to me, she says, Didi, you are outdated. So like 4 years, you feel that okay, it's like a gap, and she's faster than me, she knows much more than me, and she calls me that you are outdated. So what I'm just trying to tell you is, like, these days outdated is not like mother or a child. In even just 4 years or 3 years or maybe even sometimes 2 years, the generation gap starts showing in. Even if it is not showing in, people want to show. So this generation gap, what I'm trying to say, that you may see your family business doing very well, but you don't like the way that it's operating. You feel that it should be more systematic. There should be all paperwork in place, because you have always been taught and you have seen that the value of paperwork is so high in these days, where at a drop of a hat there's a litigation. You don't need many reasons to litigate these days. There are false litigations also which people can file, leave alone proper true litigations. So therefore, you have seen it all in your life. These days college life does these kind of sessions. In our era, we never used to get this opportunity of meeting professionals, etc. We always used to be with our books, studying, etc. So we never used to really intermingle with the outside world. So our knowledge was much limited. But today, that okay, my family business is there, for example, an umbrella business or whatever. This business is good, but I want to do it with style. So therefore, you may want to continue the family business. And if you want to do it with style, you also know that sooner or later, you are that one person who will need money in the business. Because believe you me, guys, how much ever you may be having money, business eats it all. So it's not possible to do business with your own money at any given point in time. After a while, when you look at the next level of growth, it is always money that you have to borrow, not either from the banks, or you may look for a private equity investor, or you may look for an angel funding, or you may look for a person who believes in your business by whatever name called, and who would like to step in maybe as an equity partner or as a debt partner. In those cases, I'm sure you understand that you have to be so crystal clear with your books of accounts, with your governance issues, with your minutes, with everything that you have. বাংলাতে একটা কথা বলা যায় that you কাচের ঘরে থাকা, মানে you have to be like so much ready that anybody who is actually visiting you for the purpose of investing, or maybe coming into your board, should be able to get everything, whenever he or she asks for it. You do not have to manufacture the papers when being asked for. You must be having so much of readiness, because you would like to take the company to the next level. So therefore, as an entrepreneur, you can look at startup for yourself or for your clients, inorganic growth by way of mergers and acquisition, or if you may like to continue the family business, then you may like to actually give it a proper shape. Because gone are the days, and please listen to me very carefully, gone are the days when you would like to do business with an unlimited liability. I'll tell you more about it. Just hold on to that thought of unlimited liability. Now, as a startup, the basic question which every startup faces is, oh my God, there are so many legal aspects. As I told you, then why should I get into it? I'm pretty fine with having a sole proprietorship. So the first kind of a hurdle that one needs to cross is, the only hurdle is a mindset. Okay, and what happens in the mindset, when you want to when you want to really graduate yourself from being just an ordinary citizen, from getting into the rigmaroles of law. So the first few things that really gives you jitters are the legal aspects. You may be thinking about hiring a lawyer, so that you have all your contracts in place, and how should you actually safeguard yourself. So the contractual safeguards, because it's very important. People do say that marriages are made in heaven, but we kind of even register our marriages, because somebody was lightly joking that, Mamta, it's good to have registered marriages, or getting your marriages registered, because it's easier to get it divorced. So I said, wow, what a thought. So people want to be future ready at any given point in time, and that was on the lighter side. So contractual safeguards is something that everybody wants to look at. Even if today the right hand is, entering into a contract with the left hand, so which means if two brothers are entering into a contract, or if it's a family business where the father and the son, is entering into the business issues. So everybody would like to have contractual safeguards. So that's one also question that hovers in your mind when you get into a proper transgression of business from the gray market to the proper market. Why I say gray market, it's not the color gray, which is dirtier than white. I'm just trying to say that from the unorganized sector, you wish to transcend yourself to the organized sector. Okay? So employees and the workplace regulation, obviously, when you start growing, you cannot be, and you should not be, and mark my words, you cannot be and should not be a one-man army. Because if you ask me, I have been the institute's president, and the direct stakeholders that I was having to manage was about 5 lakh plus. So I could only do so much because I always believe in the fundamental thought of multiplying myself. Now, as an individual, I cannot. I don't have DNAs where I can actually cut myself and still being there in physical mode everywhere that I could be. So what do? You actually multiply yourself by delegating. And when you delegate, you make sure that your delegatee is monitored well, so that he or she is delivering what exactly is in tandem with the vision that as a leader that you set for your organization. So therefore, you then start having employees and workmen in your organization. Then you are no more a one-man army. So therefore, that also becomes a very important thought in your mind. It occupies a lot of space in your mind, that how do I regulate my employees and my workplace. So that was one basic question that any startup, or for example any small company who wants to begin, faces. And then there's a very important thing about the protection of the intellectual property, because most of the startups are technology driven, or maybe they have come out with some product which is very indigenous and which is very, very, close to their heart, and they have kind of put in a lot of research and a lot of hard work to develop it differently. So of course you are very keen that that should not be copied, because if an Adidas t-shirt can be copied and sold, and if a Skechers shoes can be copied and sold, then what great guns that your product will not be copied and floated in the market. So to do something, you may take 5 years, 6 years, and just to copy people take about 5 days, if not 5 hours. So the protection of the intellectual property also becomes a very it occupies a lot of space in your thought. So let me take you through. So therefore, I have kind of, there could be many more, but for the purposes of giving you, instigating you with the thought process, I've tried to just pinpoint 4 of them. Legal aspects for starting up. Understanding the option is very, very important. So when you go for a wedding, what is it that you want to wear takes the center stage, because unless you do that, the stuff that you buy as a matching stuff, what is the hair color that I do, what are the shoes I wear, what is the bag that I take, what is my husband going to wear so as to match me, or what is my boyfriend going to wear, all that hovers around the fact that what is it that you are going to wear on the D-Day. So if your business is D-Day kind of a stuff that you are going forward to in your life, you put in so much of passion and hard work, and so much of the fire in the belly goes into it. So of course, very, very important fact is that what is the form that you would give to your business. So what is the legal structure that you would like to see your business wearing? So will it be a sole proprietorship? Will it be a company? Will it be a limited liability partnership? Will it be a partnership firm? Will it be a society? Will it be a trust? Business cannot be in a trust or a society, because they are used for non-profit making organizations. But for example, you could be thinking of opening a NGO, right? Because NGO drives so many of us. It's not a business, but of course, it's something which drives you, which gives you gungo. So, so what is it that you should do? Should you open a Section 8 company, or should you have maybe a society formed under the Societies Registration Act? So the point that I'm trying to tell you is that pinpointing the right structure for your business would be very, very important. And that's a legal stuff. That's a legal structure. So what are the 2-3 things that you should look at is very important, which I'll tell you in the next slides. So hold on to that thought for a moment. Then nature of organization, it's very important, because once you're looking at the options, you will not only look at what is good for you, but you will also try to see that whether your pocket will allow it at this point in time, or would you like to go for a natural job progression? So you would like to start with a small entity or maybe a sole proprietorship, and as you grow you would like to transcend yourself to the next level. So you may like to see not only the monetary issues that will go behind in maintaining a company or forming a company, the taxation issues, the regulatory framework. Okay, so these are the very, very, very many issues that will keep hovering in your mind before you take a call as to the kind of option that you pinpoint yourself to. Then there's a source of funding. As I was mentioning, that any business that you do, after a point, if you really want to grow, then your own money is never going to be sufficient. So when you decide about today, you always think about tomorrow, I'm sure. So, when we buy a house, I'm sure we don't buy it exactly to the need of immediate need. We always see that, okay, our child is growing, so he or she need to have a separate room. Maybe your child is 14 now, but you think, okay, he or she will become 18 or 19 very soon. So, you start thinking today that, okay, I should be moving to a house which will have one extra room at least, so that we do not have to need to change houses often and on. So, when you plan your things, you also plan 4-5 years ahead, at least, if not 10 years. But today, what I have seen is people want to take one step at a time. So if today they can do with a one-room house, they will probably like to take a one-room house, and maybe they will not mind to change tomorrow, because these days furnitures are not, fixed with the wall. They're all moving. So therefore, nothing is wrong, is what I'm trying to tell you. It only depends upon your need. And the very important thing that, I'm trying to tell you is that it's very important for you to understand your business need, at least up to tomorrow, if not day after tomorrow, because it's very problematic to then graduate at least to tomorrow. So that was
Ms. Mamta, can you tell one thing? Suppose I start off with the LLP,
yes,
and then I want to get FDI. So can I then quickly change it to a public limited company, or that's very difficult?
yes. No, it's not very difficult. It's not very difficult. Government, in the ease of doing business, I'm sure you're all reading it also. Government of India has been very keenly looking at least for the past 5 years. I'm sure we've been listening to this word, ease of doing business, and now the ease of living. So government is very conscious that the citizenry should be having a very smooth transition. But nonetheless, of course, it takes paperwork and it takes time. But the best part is that everything, Dr. JNM, is done through internet these days. Okay, so everything is a click of a button away. But the challenging part is that your paperwork needs to be so perfect from day one, because when you do everything, on the online, then if they are asking for a paper, you can't do away with that. You have to put it. Gone are the days when we could go to the ROC and tell them, registrar of companies, that look, this is not applicable to me, or I could explain him my problem. Now if the feed is, have to give 2 tablespoons of tea in that bowl, you have to give it. There is no choice. So therefore, as professionals or professionals in the making, what I'm trying to emphasize also is that you need to be very, very alert with the kind of paperwork and that we should do. And Dr. JNM, gradually I have felt that the demand for professionals has really gone up. Okay? Not only the demand for professionals, but the respect for professionals has really gone up manyfold. Now people have, and guys, hear me out. Uh, Gone are the times when professionals who used to do paperwork, people used to think, at least the corporate sector sometimes, and not always, used to think that we are the cost center for a company. Because what is it that we are contributing? We are only doing tons and tons of paperwork. But now this government has really brought to the forefront that you cannot take law lightly. The law of the land is something which you have to abide by. So the respect for professionals who are really aware professionals have really gone up. The demand has really gone up, and I'm sure Dr. JNM will more than agree with me on that part. So the transition is not very tough. It's a matter of a month or 15 days. Now, options available, yes, there's an option of private limited company. We have a public limited company. We have limited liability partnerships. If you can see the screen, we have a sole proprietorship and then we have a partnership. So I've tried to, show by way of pictures that in private limited company, if you see, there's a husband and a wife or maybe a combination of two people coming together. In public limited company, a lot of people can come together. In sole proprietorship, you can see that guy with a bag in his hand and very free and very like he's absolutely like so blissful. That's a sole proprietor because you don't have to have many compliances. You can just quickly start and quickly wind up. But the whole problem in sole proprietorship is that the liability is unlimited. Okay, so even if you really enjoy this easy entry and easy exit, but if the liability is unlimited, I feel it's very risky. And then you have this limited liability partnerships, okay, which people really form more so towards the services sector. Services sector is generally keen to have LLPs. And then you have the partnership. We all understand that two people can come together to form a partnership. Now, just let me spend about 5 more minutes on the screen because this is the most important screen that we have for today's session. If you see the last partnership, if you see those two people, I'm trying to join them together. In partnership, the most important deterrent is that it is also coming with a headache of unlimited liability. Now, what is the difference between limited liability and unlimited liability? Limited liability means that your liability, so if there is a default and if you do not have mens rea or if there is no criminal stuff involved, so if there is a default, your liability, now please hear me properly, your liability is limited to the extent, I'm repeating, your liability is limited to the extent, and who are you? You are a member of the company, okay? You're a shareholder of the company. So when I say your liability means you as a member who has put in money in the company. Okay? So your liability is limited to the extent of the unpaid amount in the capital structure of the company. Your liability is limited to the unpaid portion of your portion that you had to give as capital in the company. So only to the extent of the unpaid portion, your liability is limited. Okay. So therefore, it's like hugely beneficial because your liability is then limited only to that small portion. But if you are into a partnership and if something goes wrong, then you have unlimited liability, which means your banks can come to your house, banks can put everything to auction, banks can throw away your goods, banks can do everything. Why? Because you have chosen, you are knowing that it is of unlimited liability and you've chosen that structure. So now you cannot say, hello, what are you doing? What are you doing? So banks will say, okay, you are in this mode. Now, why is it that you're asking for a protection? Because this law does not protect you. You are a person with unlimited liability. So one more issue that comes with partnership or with sole proprietorship is that this is not governed by registrar of companies. Now, understand the concept. What is a registrar of companies? Registrar of companies is popularly known as ROC. Okay, the acronym is used as ROC. Now, what happens in company or in an LLP, that the vital documents like your accounts, okay, like who has what number of shares, gets filed every year compulsorily with a repository of information. Who is that repository of information? The public registry. That is the registrar of companies. Now tomorrow, if Dr. JNM or anybody else who would like to just go and visit, then okay, let me see the company's balance sheet. Let me see who are the shareholders of that company, could actually just jolly well at a click of a button pay 50 rupees or 100 rupees with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and download the balance sheets, download the annual reports, okay, download the returns which shows who is the shareholder. So everything is in the public domain is what I wanted to tell you by saying this. So which means highest level of transparency and highest level of the, I'm just not getting that word. Yeah. So you have to be, you're subjected to law. Okay. Highest level of transparency is there because you know that it is open to public domain. But whereas in partnership or in sole proprietorships, accepting filing of income tax returns, which is not visible to everyone and anyone, is only visible to the people who file it. So apart from them, nobody can see it. So for the sake of transparency also, if you really want to take your company to a different level of growth, where you're looking for capital or you're looking for technology skill sets, you're looking from people who would like to come in from outside and maybe give you the sweat, if not the money, then all of it, people will wish to have that transparency kind of stuff. And therefore, people like to have a company. Now, third thing is, like the banks also, when they lend, they prefer the entity of a company or a limited liability partnership. And now I'll take 2 more minutes on this issue. That when a company borrows, you understand that everybody has to, whoever borrows have to mortgage, okay, or have to hypothecate some of their assets, at least, which is, if not more, but equivalent to the money that you are borrowing. Generally, it's 1.5 times or 2 times to the money that you borrow. You have to mortgage that with the banks. Now, what happens in company and limited liability partnerships, that it is mandatory in the law that whenever you are borrowing against any hypothecation, that filing also needs to be done within 30-day period with the ROC, that is the Public Registrar's Office. Now, so why is it important? The banks also know that if it is a company, it will have to mandatorily file that, okay, look, these are my assets, which is already mortgaged with, for example, Bank of India. So, say for example, next year, Corporation Bank wants to lend against the same asset. What does the Corporation Bank will first do? Corporation Bank will first go to the ROC website, and it's very easily available, the data that what property is mortgaged to whom. So they will first quickly go to the website of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where this company's data will also be available, to check, okay, let me see where is what hypothecated. So therefore, it acts like a public notice also to any person who is again wanting to lend. They should first see the website to check whether their property is actually otherwise mortgaged or not. So therefore, it acts as a very great comfort for the banks, and therefore, a lot of times we have seen that the banks are comfortable in giving borrowings to companies and limited liability partnerships, and not so very comfortable with sole proprietorship and partnership. But I'm not saying that they don't get funds; they do get. But if you're looking for a real big chunk of money, then limited liability is something which is very, very important. And the last point that I want to talk about in this slide is that a company or a limited liability partnership has a perpetual succession. Okay, so a person may come and a person may go, but the company always remains. So if, for example, in sole proprietorship, if something happens to that guy who's holding a bag, today he's looking so fresh and fine, but say, for example, pandemic befalls on him and something happens to him, so that's all gone down the drain. But in a company or a limited liability partnership, it's the company goes on, because the structure is like that, that somebody else can just come and continue the company. Okay, so the transfer of shares also happens very smoothly, and the management also, somebody resigns and somebody comes in. It's pretty smooth. The transition is very smooth. So therefore, it's also very important to look at the aspect of perpetual succession. So this is what I wanted to tell you about this slide. I hope you've been able to understand this. And from here, the natural thing that I wish to tell you is about one-person company. Now, this concept of one-person company was not there in the Companies Act 1956. It only came by, this concept came by in our country with the advent of Companies Act 2013. So this concept was there in the western part of the world for a pretty long time, and our country has borrowed this from the western part. And why not? If something is good, it's always good to emulate it. And what happens, the best part is that when something is going on in the west, we are aware of what are the mistakes that, or what are the challenges that those has faced in the western part, and we are able to plug all those challenges also when we come out with a law. So this one-person company is now in the statute book, which means in the Companies Act 2013, and it is quite like sole proprietorship. So one-person company, like if you see the private limited company and the public limited company structure, in private limited you see that there are two people there. So without two persons, you cannot form a company. Company word itself means more than one, right? So the concept of one-person company came in because the government wanted to encourage not forming sole proprietorships. And they said, okay, I understand that you want to run a company yourself. You are not so comfortable of having at least two people in your kitty. Okay, fine. You are one person and you want to do your business, do it under a structured form, which is a one-person company. So the law says that in one-person company, you have to mandatorily have one member, and you can have one or two more directors. So therefore, but it will have limited liability. So the disadvantages that a sole proprietorship has of unlimited liability was plugged in by way of having one-person companies given by the government. So people in India, a lot of one-person company has been formed. When the concept came in, people were not going for it because they felt, okay, what is it? We don't know, etc. But now, as the days goes by, we see quite a number of people getting into one-person company. There are a lot of less compliances, and I must tell you that even the filing fee, etc., imposed by the government on a one-person company is pretty less. So it is trying to encourage that, look, you will not have much maintenance cost because the compliances are less. You will have only one person running the show, and the filing fee, etc., is also pretty less in a one-person company. And with a very small capital, as low as 1,000 rupees, also a company can be formed. So therefore, the government is really encouraging that we should come into this one-person company if you are not looking at a private limited company immediately. So let me take you to the next slide. I hope you've been able to understand up to here.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you so much. So this is the comparison that I've tried to draw between a company and an LLP. So as I was mentioning that the word itself, limited liability partnership. So if you see this partnership, as I was trying to tell you, this is with unlimited liability, right? Two people want to come together, but they want to not go for the rigmaroles of law, and therefore they have formed a partnership. So the law said, okay, why are you forming a partnership? Come to limited liability partnership. At least you will have a partnership, so you will have the flavor of a partnership, but you will have limited liability, right? So LLP is a mixture of, it's a transition, it's a positive transition and upgradation from a partnership to, and it's between a company and a partnership. Why I say between? Because anyways, it has, first progression is, it is now coming with a limited liability. Second is, it is less costly than having forming a company. So if you're forming a one-person company, it is very less expensive. But if you want to form beyond that, then you can look at also LLP because it is less expensive. So therefore, we have seen that LLPs are generally formed by entrepreneurs and professionals. Okay. So somebody wants to give a consultancy, they will not like to form a company. They like to go for an LLP. Only deterrent with an LLP is that if you are not doing the filing of your annual returns, as I was mentioning, within a particular framework of law, then every day default is 100 rupees. So it may sound very less, but when it cumulatively, gets, then it becomes very large figure. So there is no upper cap. In company, if you are not able to file the documents on time, you have an upper cap. But in LLP, every day of default comes with a 100 rupee fine. So that is why whenever you form an LLP, you should be only very careful with the compliance. There's not many compliances, but whatever little it has, you should be very careful. So therefore, recommended for, I have a column, you can read it at your leisure. Entrepreneurs, professionals, flexibility in operation, definitely. This is governed, companies governed by Companies Act, and LLP is governed by the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. Okay, both has perpetual succession, and both can hold property in its own name. So which means if you're buying a property in company, then a company can hold the property in its own name, and so does the LLP can also. So therefore, people, you just have to choose which one do you want. So LLP is a little less expensive than a company. The kind of legal rigmaroles is less in LLP, and the income tax provisions of LLP is pretty same to akin to partnership. But the limited liability is the fact that is very, very important. So cost factor in LLP is much less compared to a company. Now, if somebody is looking for a IPO, okay, that is a public issue that you want to raise money from the public, definitely you cannot go for an LLP because in LLP, public issue is not allowed. It's a partnership, okay? It's a limited liability partnership. So then you should be only opting for a company. Dr. JNM, you're saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that is there any advantage of a private limited company over a LLP?
Yeah, so one is an IPO. Second is very easy to...
No, I'm saying of a private limited company, not public limited. I'm saying a private limited company over an LLP.
Sure, that's a very good question. Thank you for pointing that out. In a private limited company, it's always advantageous. It's, for me, I always feel it's more advantageous because say for example, today you want to exit. Okay. So it's very easy to sell your shares at the prevailing price. Now you will say, how do you get the prevailing price? Because it's not listed in the market, but a registered valuer, registered valuer does the valuation. So it's very easy. So you can do that with LLP also, because you can also do it there. But company is a very preferred mode because people understand company very well, and if you are at least not, if you're in the manufacturing sector or if you are in an industrial sector, people don't prefer LLP. LLPs are only preferred by professionals, okay, and maybe some startups. But otherwise, if you ask me, I'm always the one who recommends a company.
Okay.
Unless you're a professional.
Okay.
So these are the basis, sole proprietorship, registration is not compulsory. One-person company, of course, it is compulsory, as I told you. Liability, sole proprietorship is unlimited. One-person company is limited liability, as I was mentioning. Compliance for a sole proprietorship, very less compliance. It only needs to go and file it once, the balance sheet. But in a one-person company, of course, you have to get your books audited. Annual filings will have to be there. And some changes that you do in your structure has to be informed with the ROC. But don't get deterred by it because the filing fee is pretty less. And as I was telling you, that if you're really looking for a growth in your company, it always makes sense to be transparent. And what is there to be hiding of? There's nothing that you're doing crime of you, right? So it's very good to be kind of quite transparent. Legality, of course, sole proprietorship, I'm sure you're all also aware that it is not considered as a separate legal entity, whereas in one-person company, it is a separate legal entity. Perpetual succession, we are all aware, company will always have a perpetual succession. Taxation, of course, sole proprietorship is taxed as an individual, and for a one-person company, it is taxed as a private limited company.
So which is more advantageous for the taxation angle?
Of course, if you're in a very, very small company, I mean, if you just want to start from scratch, then sole proprietorship may be the one that you're looking at because you will have those slabs of 5 lakhs, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So fall below that, there is no taxes at all. But even in a one-person company, and guys, please listen to me. In a company, whatever expenditure that you do gets debited.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the best part is, like, for example, you may have got an earning of 5 lakhs. But of course, you have spent about 3.5 lakh in maintaining your business, in admin issues, in creating an infrastructure. You get depreciation every year. I'm getting into the accounting rigmarole, but just to...
That's okay.
Yeah, then so therefore you're only taxed at 1.5 lakh. Okay. So then you get some leeways also under the income tax law. So you maybe end up paying about 10, 15, 20,000 as a tax, which is not much. But the
so that be advantageous if I make it a one-person company, because I can charge all my expenses, right?
Yes, you can charge all your expenses. Business expenses can all get charged. So I think it's just, you have to rack your brain and come out of your mindset that a company is heavy and sole proprietorship is light. Just that mindset is the deterrence and nothing else. So easy setup, of course, sole proprietorship. आप आज set करना चाहें, आप आज खाली अपना PAN card दोगे और आपको sole proprietorship हो गया. But in a one-person company, of course, you will take 4-5 days. That's the only difference. These days, ministry can form a company in 1 day. So if you are urgently looking for a one-person company and you want to start your business tomorrow, you can form your company in even a single day. And I'm really telling you because I do that. That's my profession. We are able to form it even in a single day. So easy setup these days. I think it's both. Just that आपको थोड़े signing करने पड़ेंगे documents में. That's the only thing. And separate property, of course, sole proprietorship has got no separatism, but one-person company can hold the property in its own name.
Okay, so Ms. Mamta, suppose someone starts a one-person company, hoping to get some consultancy business, but he is not able to get much consultancy, so the income is either zero or negligible, then what happens in that case?
You can wind up the company. That's not very difficult.
No, I'm saying this year it's zero, next year it may be higher, or this year is only 1 lakh rupees, next year is higher. So he just has to pay the filing fees. That's all, right? And I can still continue.
Yes, absolutely. So believe you me, though sometimes we feel that we need a professional to do it, but these days everything is online. So if somebody is just inquisitive and would like to learn, it's not so difficult at all. You can do it on your own. A lot of people does it on their own.
Right.
So that a lot of types of directors that you see on the screen. So the two beautiful ladies there, they are probably the independent directors or the women directors, or could be the whole-time directors also. And that man with a cup of tea is probably trying to make minutes out of the board of directors meetings, and that's why he's wearing a specs also, because he's absolutely engrossed in taking down as to what the board of directors are discussing. So you have resident directors. It is not called as residential. I'm sorry for that. Those IAL, which actually resident director. Resident director concept has again come in by the Companies Act 2013, where it says that to become a resident director, a director should be living in India for at least 182 days. Okay, so that concept was not there before. Nowadays, every company will have to have one resident director, which means a director at least should be a resident or should have been staying in India for at least 182 days. Now, in this pandemic period, I think that has a little bit, the government has relaxed it. Now, you have a women director, you have independent directors, alternate directors. So, women director, I'm sure you know that there are compulsory appointments also, that if you belong to a certain threshold, then you have to have a women director. I think the paid up capital is about 100 crores. And the turnover is about some threshold criteria are there. So if you cross that threshold, and if you are a public company, not a private company, okay, if you are a public company, then you have to have a women director on the board. Now, it's not necessary that that women director should be an independent. It could be a non-independent also. I'm sure you may have read in the news that there was a lot of hullabaloo about it, that a lot of family people are becoming women directors. So what? Doesn't matter. So the law today is that it's not compulsory that a women director has to be an independent director only. It could be from the family lineage also. So independent director, we are all aware, independent directors are more conscience keepers of the company. They try to see they try to be the, the eyes and legs, especially the eyes and brain of the other stakeholders apart from the promoter directors, because they are representing the interest of all the stakeholders. So independent directors play a very, very vital role in the board of the company. Alternate directors are the directors who are appointed by the director themselves, who would be out of India for a considerable period of time. So when they are out of India, they are eligible to appoint alternate directors. Alternate, the word itself says that if I'm not there, you attend the meetings. And if they come back to India, the position of the alternate director automatically gets vacated. Additional director is that a board of directors cannot appoint a director in the capacity of a director. First, they have to be taken as an additional director. The fundamental thought behind is that let him get used to it, right? Let him know how the thing looks like. It's kind of a probation period that you may say, but not exactly like that. So additional director also is called a director for all practical reasons. He has all the powers of a director. Only thing is that additional director has to be getting regularized in a extraordinary general meeting or an annual general meeting of the members, because directors can be appointed by the members. So, but immediately if the need is felt by the board to appoint a director, they take a director by way of an additional director who then gets regularized in a general meeting of the company. Nominee director is a director who is nominated by a principal shareholder. For example, I was a nominee director in one of the company. I was nominated by the liquidator, okay, in the board of another company called Nico Park. So therefore, like nominee directors are that your principal nominates you on the board of another company so that you protect the interests of the nominator. So for example, like government of West Bengal would be having a lot of companies, right? So wherever they have considerable shares, they nominate their people to be on the board of those shares. So therefore, the government of West Bengal is a shareholder. But in the director level, the government of India, how will they represent themselves? By way of a nominee director, which the government of West Bengal nominates on the board of a particular company. Shadow director concept, I just wanted to tell you, but otherwise it's not very much found in the law books. You will not find the concept of shadow director in the law book. What is a shadow director? I wanted to just get you a hang of the nomenclature. Shadow director means a director who is actually working at the whims and fancies of another brain. So there's somebody else behind you as a shadow, and you are just working as not using your own mind. You are controlled by somebody else. So that person who's controlling you is like a shadow director. People call him a shadow director. That aap to sirf naam ke vaste hai, somebody else is controlling your brain. So you're working under the influence of somebody else. Small shareholders director is like this concept has also come in by the Companies Act 2013, that a group of small shareholders, like who at least have 10% of the shareholding of the company, would nominate somebody on the board to make sure that the minority shareholders are also, their interest is also looked at when the board is taking decisions in its meetings.
Mamta, one quick question. When a hostile takeover is taking place and one company is taking increasing the stake in another company, at what level can they force the company to have their own nominee on the board? Is there a limit threshold or something that they'll have to say?
Yeah, so at least for small shareholders, the limit is 10%. And for nominee director, etc., of course, there's nothing in the law. But then if you're a major shareholder, I'm sure 51% and above, that is the time only where you can have a nominee director.
No, I'm saying that, there's a company called ABC Limited.
Yeah.
And now XYZ Limited is, started buying shares on the market in a hostile way. And at some level, they have, let's say, got 15%. So can they insist on some board members to be there, or there's no such rule?
Yeah, they can. They can.
And but the existing incumbent company can refuse. They say, no, we'll not allow any.
Yeah, they can. They can. Unless they have it in their articles of association, they can jolly well refuse, because nothing is there in the law as such. Then if they are falling under the small shareholders director, so they can just say that we are holding 10% and above, and we are in the minority, so we would like to have a small shareholders director. So there are a lot of duties, responsibility, powers, and whenever you see the word powers, it comes hand in hand with duties and responsibility. I'm sure you're aware of that. So for directors, the nomenclature directors, Dr. JNM is also a director, not in that sense which I'm saying, he's not under the Companies Act, but I'm just trying to tell you that these nomenclatures look very heavy and nice and good to wear as an ornament, but the kind of responsibility, liability, and the duties that comes embedded with it is huge. So somebody who only is able to take those on their head is someone who should really become directors, and otherwise you should not think of even wearing that hat of a director. So there are a lot of duties, responsibility, and powers and liability that I've laid down in the sheet. You may just read it at your convenience. It's all very understandable. I'll just try to take you through one or two duties, which is very interesting. And let me give you a very brief background that in the Companies Act 2013, we saw an inclusion of a very vital section, Section 166. For the first time, we saw that the duties of directors, which was very well known otherwise, that okay, if you're a director, what are your duties? The duties of the directors were first time put in black and white. In 1956 or the yesteryear's 1913 Act, we never saw duties of directors getting defined and put in black and white under a law. In this 2013 Act, we saw Section 166 coming in, and that is how you look at the duty of good faith. Look at the nomenclature: duty of good faith, duty to manage the business affairs of the company. So, these are the very few things which I wanted to just tell you. You may like to read it at leisure. It's a very, very small section, Section 166. Now, key managerial personnel. I know I have taken more than 40 minutes, but
no, that's okay.
To close.
That's okay.
Yeah, Dr. JNM, the issue is that, nowadays the attention span is very less. I want to leave them with a very forceful thought in their mind rather than giving them too much of plate. So key managerial personnel, as I discussed in the beginning also, I'm sure you'll be able to recollect the first few discussions that we were having without using the PowerPoint, that Section 203, that is 203, has been included in the Companies Act, which talks about the key managerial personnel. So I think this very concept of having a proper section for it only endows the professional with a lot of more vigorous duty towards the constitution, that is the act. So it's very interesting, and you will feel that when you read 203, you will feel that a lot of it is made for you. So there's a lot of scope to become a key managerial personnel, and the best part about having the category of key managerial personnel is you interact with the board directly. You're able to sit in the board rooms, so which means you're able to interact with the uh, eyes and the brain of the company, because every decision emanates from the boardroom. It's very exciting, and it comes with a lot of responsibilities also. Now, this is the kind of last slide before I come on to the business closing. Compounding of offences in the Companies Act, there are provisions which says that.
Mamta, can we leave this part and take some questions? Maybe that we interested.
Yeah, sure. I'll just finish it. I'm almost done.
Okay.
So, in compounding of business offences, actually, I also have another lecture. Compounding of offences is. So it says that a company comes with a lot of prosecutions. If if you're not adhering to the law, then you will be subjected to this, you'll be subjected to that. So the Companies Act said, okay, take it easy. Sometimes these offences just happens by chance. So therefore, the Act also gives you some provisions where you can go for compounding. So you may not be prosecuted, you just have to pay some additional penalty fees, and you can get your offence compounded. I'm coming to the last slide, which is about business closing. That if you're not able to carry on your business, there also, the ease of doing business index has gone up in our country.
Yes, substantially.
Yeah, why? The basic fundamental is because there was an easy entry. आप एक चक्रव्यूह में घुस तो सकते हो, but it's very important that
निकलना
से हम निकले कैसे. So the government has now said that okay, we'll give you easy mechanisms by which you can also exit your business. So if you see the exit door, the government has given a lot of exit doors in the business that you can go for winding up, you can go for voluntary liquidation, and there's a fast track exit mode also. And I'm working on all of them, and they're not very tough as it used to be in the yesteryears. In the government, when they started with this mechanism of understanding easy exit, it was seen that to exit, it takes about 4.5 years, sometimes even 25 years. So government understood that if you really want to promote entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur also wants to see that is the exit route there or not, and if it is there, is it fraught with too many challenges, or is it easy to do, or of course a little time taking, but is it simple to do? It's doable or not? So the government has now made it quite doable. Now, there are a lot of sources of finance which is available in the market, but to avail any of it, except your own money, you really have to be transparent, and you really have to put your house in order. Only then you'll be able to get finance. And I request you to read this carefully at your leisure time. It's very, very interesting. So I was talking about contractual safeguard, and there is another opportunity for all of us as professionals, that if you're good at drafting, if you're good at envisioning that, what is the trouble that could just come in after 5, 10, 15 years, you try to safeguard all of them in your contract. So this becomes very important when you have a company, because everything works on paper. As I was telling you, that employees and workmen regulation, of course, you'll have to have your labor laws in place, HR policies in place. They may look heavy words, but once you sit and do, believe you me, it's not heavy at all. Obviously, when you are working with so many people, you have to have some policies in place. And this is, last slide, protection. That's why I am keen to show you the last slide. That, believe me, this is the last slide. Okay. So protection of intellectual property. You all are more aware of these things than me. But these days, people are very majorly and overly keen to protect their brain work that they bring to the table. So once you get into this, you should be very careful about these modes also. I'm done. And anything
No, it was extremely nice. Basically, it was extremely nice. I think the best part you said was that you have to hone our skills, and we have to be a lifelong student. I think that should be the spirit. So nice from such a senior professional telling like that. That's very, very nice, actually. And I have just one question before I throw it open to the students.
Sure.
What's the qualification of an independent director now?
So previously there used to be no qualification, but like, for example, if you have to be in the audit committee, it said that you have to be financially good read. So which means you should be aware of your how to read accounts, etc., etc. So there was not such any other criteria except being independent, really in the proper sense. Independent in the sense you should not be a relative, you should not be a related party, etc. But now, late the government has said that you have to be passing a independent director's exam, and you have to be enrolling yourself in a data bank which the government has floated. So you can get only enrolled once you clear the independent director's exam. And I wish to tell you that exam is quite company law driven and also some civil laws driven. So somebody has to really read through and only then clear the independent director's exam. So that only forces you to read the law, at least the mother law, which will govern the entire company. That's the Companies Act. And second is there's no age bar. So if I can see Nidhi there, so if Nidhi Chauhan wishes to become an independent director, she looks very young. So all of us, including me, we're all young. But if you're in your 20s, early 20s, and if you feel no, I cannot become an independent director, so let me tell you, there's no age bar. Of course, you have to be a major. That goes without saying. So you have to be 21. So that's it.
So now those who are there as independent directors that have not passed the exam, do they continue or they have to again, they can't continue anymore? They can't continue anymore. So they have to pass.
Okay. So government is giving time till December. So I'm sure, within that.
So Kanchan, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is the BA LLB girl? Tell me.
Ma'am, I've seen you quite a few times in the High Court. So, ma'am, it's really a great pleasure seeing you once again on the camera 4 years, after 4 years, ma'am. Because it was in 2016, I was doing my internship in High Court. So, ma'am, it's really great meeting you, ma'am. I have gained a lot of insights on LLP and sole proprietorship, ma'am, one party company and also private limited. Ma'am, the question that came to my mind is that, ma'am, suppose if I start off a business under and register myself as an LLP, and ma'am, quite after a few years, if I like to raise money, and ma'am, you told that LLPs are not up for raising monies. So, ma'am, in that case, is there any possibility of getting converted into a private limited company?
Yes, jolly well. And this raise of money, say for example, if you want to raise money not from the public, but if you wish to raise money from your friends or from debenture holders, etc., then you can do it in LLP. But if you're looking at a public fora, if you want to do a public issue, to raise money, then of course you have to have a company, and it's not difficult to graduate from an LLP to a company.
Okay, ma'am. So the process is quite an easy one, I believe.
Yes. And if you have all your papers and all your, like antennas open from day one, believe you me, nothing is difficult.
Okay. Ma'am, that was indeed helpful. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And I'm always there for the guidance. ANM can be just, you may like to share. My email ID is anyways there.
Yes, ma'am.
Mamta, in front of you, I'll share a business idea and you can tell us what structure will be there. One idea that I have for the students, actually, it's a business idea. They're always looking for jobs, but a business idea, which I think is a 95% foolproof is, there's a huge requirement of old age, service.
Yeah.
Especially if I look at Salt Lake as the area, considered area, it's throughout Calcutta. But Salt Lake is the area where there's paying capacity also of, people who are now 75, 80 years old. So if 2-3 of my students get together and they feel that, we are going to render old age services, right? To all these people, like what I believe is a single stop window that like Mr. Bose is there. He calls up, let's say, this company called Reliable Old Age Services, and he says, Mr. Bose, yes, Mr. Bose. So I'm having no plumber is there, a headache is there. So, okay, we're sending a doctor. So, some kind of business idea I have, which I think is going to make money also. So what kind of structure would you suggest to the students if they want to do that? Say 2-3 friends get together and want to do it.
Honestly speaking, I think, we should go for a company. I mean, if you ask me, we should go for a private limited company. And of course, if somebody is very fearsome, then we should go for an LLP. But sincerely, it should not be a partnership firm or something like that. Because what happens, I'll tell you, in the company, the best part is that, for example, you want to sell your business, okay? For example, this network has grown and now you want to rack your brains in something else. And you want to just sell your business. Now, how do you sell your business? You actually sell your shares, right? And the valuation not only comes from whatever you have done to build the company, but also the order book of the company and the future cash flows that the company would have generated at least for the next 5 years or 3 years had you been in business. So all that is actually very, somebody can really value it very well when it is in a company, because you have your accounts in place, all of them are audited, all of them are figures which is coming out really well. Somebody has checked it. What happens in a sole proprietorship, etc., there is whatever you give is nobody has actually vetted it. You can also think of an LLP. That's also okay. But for a private limited company, an LLP nowadays, private limited company, previously, people used to have to kind of make private limited companies with 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees. Now you can also form it with 10,000, 1,000 rupees. So if you can do that so very easily, then why not go for a private limited company?
Sumita, can you introduce yourself and ask a question? Sumita? Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. This is
Hi.
Sumita side.
Hi.
So it has always been a pleasure to listen to you, ma'am, and I can really listen to the whole day. I have really got an opportunity in ICSI also. I have got an opportunity to listen to you. So today's session was also very, very meaningful and helpful. I think like I have learned many more things this time. So ma'am, not from this topic, like I have a question, like I was reading some case laws and all. So I had this question, like there was a company, they went into liquidation because of the creditor. There was a big creditor for that company. They went into the liquidation. There was a fraud between the directors as well. So the director who took charge of all the dealings which was happening in the company, because of which the fraud happened, he died. So ma'am, my question is, can the company really go into liquidation, and can there be no any thing to save that company from getting into liquidation or something like that?
It will not go. So, so limited. What I understood is, let me tell you, company has a perpetual succession.
Yes,
it can be saved.
It can be saved.
Yes, 100%. That's the beauty of a company, actually.
Okay, ma'am. Like that was something like it was bugging my mind. They have the cases and everything, but it is always like the creditors. How can a creditor like take charge of it? Can a creditor in any which ways take a charge over the company for liquidation in a major way?
Yes, they can. They must be having an agreement where they may have said that if you default, then they'll be becoming the shareholders, or they will come into the management. So without that agreement, you cannot.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I was saying contractual obligations,
yes, ma'am.
Agreements are very, very important. Very important.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sumita, can you tell us how far are you away from becoming a full company secretary? Can you tell in front of ma'am?
Just one training away, ma'am.
Very good.
So it's because of some issues that I'm not able to finish it off. So that's the thing. But very soon, ma'am, I'll do it.
You take a deadline, Sumita, and finish it off. Huh? By March, you must finish it off. Latest. Okay, yes. Sumita, otherwise you'll always have something other coming.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else has any question? Mamta, can you tell me, because you come from business family background, most students are looking for chakri, nokri. I always want them to start their own business, at least take a try. How do you motivate your students to become entrepreneurs, not looking for jobs all the time?
I am the real example, if I can say. I was All India topper in my intermediate and All India topper in my finals as far as company act was concerned. I got so many pushy job offers, including HLL, etc. That was the year 1995, 97. But that was a time when practice was not so prevalent as a company secretary. But I still chose to be a practitioner because I always felt that rather than job seeker, I would like to become a job giver. And I always was very fond of being my own boss and etc. So from then there was no looking back. Like I was consistent and. I had a graph which went like this and looked like this, but then I never gave up. So I think it comes from within, and even if you want to do a job, do it with a motive that you would quit soon, and maybe. So I think 2-3 years of job is important also, in my opinion. It's important that you see the industry, you taste the fruit, you know how politics happens there, how decisions are taken, how the files move. get into the shoes of the people who think policies and who execute policies. But post that, your first, your mind should be very focused that you would like to be on the other side of the table.
Mm-hmm.
So JNM,
what about
exit because I have another session at 8:30.
Okay. So you just crossed your time limit. Yeah. So Sumita also proposed a formal vote of thanks, please.
I'd like to wish everyone a very good evening. It gives me immense pleasure.
Sumita, you're getting cut off. Sumita, once again, please. You got cut off.
So now is it fine?
Yes.
So
hello. Yes, sir. Sorry to disturb, sir. Akanksha is asking one question.
No. We can't. We don't have time. We'll take it later. We'll take it offline.
Okay.
We'll take it offline.
Okay.
So yes. I would again like to wish everybody a very good evening. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this special event with all the dignitaries assembled here. I would firstly like to thank Mamta ma'am for being so generous and taking out time from her busy schedule and making us understand the importance of company law with such easy examples and with such ease. I would also like to thank you, Mamta ma'am, for your inspirational thought and for making us understand how important flag bearers we are of our institute and of our own life. So, and I would also like to thank you for making us understand the various aspects of company law and how we can take forward with one man company or limited liability partnership. Apart from very many of us are only aware about private limited and public limited companies. Now, I think many of us are more aware about LLPs and single person company as well. Last but not the least, I would also like to thank our very own director, sir, and all the faculty members of Calcutta Business School for giving us an opportunity to hear and learn from Mamta ma'am. So thank you, ma'am. We would love to listen to you more and learn more and more from you.
Thank you so much. At the end, I also wish to extend my thanks to Dr. JNM and to, of course, this esteemed school for having me here. Mr. Biswas, thank you for all the nice words. I don't know how much true it was to the bottom of his list, but then I'm happy to be on the platform. Wish to look forward again, Dr. JNM, whenever you invite me, I'll be here. And guys,
this time physically there, physically there, spend some time in the campus. We have a 15-acre campus. It's very green. So you can get some good oxygen also away from the Ultraranga plush apartment, but more clean here. So we want to see that.
Oxygen comes with friends, and wherever you are, I'm sure that it's very important. Yeah. And to my dear students, I just wish to say that take charge of your life. I mean, that's very important. The motivation should only come from within you. There's only one person or two person who will pat at your back once or twice or maybe 5-10 times. But the 11th time and the 12th time, it is only you who will be able to pat yourself. And in spite of all failures, if you see me, if you see Dr. JNM, and if you see all people who have been successful as per you, even your mom and dad are successful because they've been able to bring you to this level wherever you are. Learn to appreciate your parents, because if they wouldn't have sacrificed, you would not have been here today. So learn to appreciate what you get in life, not what you don't trip off what you don't get. If you see us here today, it has all been consistent hard work and not giving up. So we have all gone through our own share of trials and tribulations. Believe you me, have faith on each every word that we tell you. There's no reason why we should be not telling you the truth. So we have all had our ups and downs. What we did not do is not give up. Okay? So don't give up. Don't give up. And especially to the females here, I must say that don't delay your marriages or your birth of child because you want to carry on with your career. Everything will fall in place. You should learn how to run with the nature. Don't go beyond or against the nature. I have also born a child. I am also living in a joint family. I have also parents to look after. You should be learning how to manufacture time for yourself. If you don't get into those stupid little things, then you will always have ample time to do everything. So with these words, I'm always there to guide you. You can just feel free And with Dr. JNM's blessings, I can again come back whenever he wants me.
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much. So we'll leave now. We'll see you again next week. Thank you all students. My vote of thanks goes out to students who on a holiday evening attended with us. So I want to really thank all my students for that. Thank you, Sanjeev sir, for you take out time right in the beginning, and you are the opening bowler. So that was the most important part. So Prashanjit, did you find this interesting? Prashanjit Mondol, are you planning to start a one-man company? Prashanjit Mondol, if you hear me?
Prashanjit, are you there?
He's there. His name is showing. I don't know. So I think one of the things we have to do as teachers, Sanjeev, is to actually motivate our students to start their own company. That's a very important thing. Right. I really wish I was again 23.
Right.
Really
sir.
nice.
Right, sir.
So Kanchan, आप कैसा लगा आपको? आनंद मिला? Kanchan?
Yes, sir.
आनंद मिला ना?
A good session, yes, sir.
ठीक. और भी होगा. और भी होगा. ठीक. ठीक. Okay. Bye bye.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good night, sir.